what do you enjoy the most about playing soccer? More than anything else.
The thing I enjoy most is like having fun.
Like, which drill do you like the least of all the drills?
Probably the passenger.
Why is that one? Why do you like that one the least?
Like in games,
Do you think that's the same with most players?
I think so.
And how do you feel when you're playing in a game versus practice?
In a game, I feel a little nervous,
Mhm.
but in practice, I just feel like normal. I feel excited.
Why do you think in a game you feel more nervous than in practice? All right, this is EvoToca. Today I have a player with me, 2015. His name is Maheed. I have coached with him many times, and I love the way that he plays the game. For me as a coach now, but as a player, I used to play with a lot of flair. I used to love to do tricks. I used to love to beat defenders. And that's something that Maheed likes to do as well. But today it's going to be all about Maheed. It's nothing about me. And Maheed, for the first question, what do you enjoy the most about playing soccer? More than anything else.
The thing I enjoy most is like having fun.
Now, in terms of like, at least when I see you play, I know you love to dribble players. Do you like to dribble players or score goals more? And what about assisting players or scoring goals? And what about between scoring goals, assisting, passing, dribbling, defending? Which one do you like the least? Defending. That's how I was too when I played. Can you describe like a normal practice session for your team?
In the beginning, the intensity is a little low, but later on, after the warm up, it starts getting more intense.
Okay, and what parts of training do you like? Like when you think of all the trainings that you do, what are the best parts of training? Scrimmage, just playing. Awesome. Now, let's put the scrimmage away. Do you know like any other drill that you like to do a lot in practice?
2v3.
3v3?
2v3.
2v3. Why 2v3? What is so good about that?
Because after you beat the first defender, your other teammate, you have to accelerate through the other one.
Mm-hmm.
So it will be easier to beat the other, like the last defender.
Okay. And what do you like? Like, which drill do you like the least of all the drills in training? Like, what type of drills? Like, I'll give you examples. There's skills drills where you do moves. There's passing drills. There's shooting drills. There's, like you said, 3v2, 3v3, sometimes 2v1, or sometimes it's like possession. Which one do you like the least?
Probably the passing drill.
Why do you like that one the least?
Like in games, I kind of pass and I kind of don't.
Mm. Have you ever done a passing drill that's very fun?
Yes.
You have. And what do you remember what was fun about it? But you said your favorite is scrimmage.
Yes.
Do you think that's the same with most players?
I think so.
Have you ever heard a player say that he likes something more than a scrimmage? And how do you feel when you're playing in a game versus practice?
In a game, I feel a little nervous, but in practice, I just feel like normal. I feel excited.
Mm-hmm. And why do you think in a game you feel more nervous than in practice?
Because practice is more like intense than a game. Because practice is just all about having fun and learning. But in games, you gotta apply that.
That's interesting that you said that because I think that in the games you should when you're younger it should also be a lot about learning. I think so. Like normally uh when I play like when we used to do the practices I did with you in the scrimmage, I tried to tell you as little as possible, but I also tried to do that in the game too, so that you have fun in the game and also the practice. But in between the practices and the games, and I'm just asking you, which one do you think you learn more?
I think practice.
And why do you think so?
Because practice is just all about like learning and
experimenting.
Yeah.
Like you get to try a lot of things,
Yeah.
and it doesn't matter if you lose it. But in a game, it doesn't. It matters more.
Yeah.
I see. And I think when I was growing up, I think I was thinking the same way that in the game you get nervous because what you learn, it has to work. You know what I mean? Like it has to work more than in practice. I think that's very interesting. And of all the things, actually, before I even ask that, who or what inspires you or makes you want to play soccer and be a better player?
Like what inspires me and forces me?
No, so I'll give you an example for me. So when I was growing up, I would say when I was your age, my father, I would say, because when my father coached me, he let me try a lot of things, like the tricks, everything. And I would also say though, like professional soccer players, when I see them play and I see them do a trick and then I go home, I do the trick a lot and then I go to practice in the game and I do the trick. So things like that. But what about you?
Mostly the same thing. I like watch some games. I see like Messi and Ronaldo do a trick and I do that at home. And then I try it at practice and do it in the game.
Yeah, okay. And what do you think has helped you improve the most as a player?
Can you give an example?
Yeah, like for me, when I was your age, I would say the thing that helped me improve the most, and this is me thinking now, but if I was a kid, I think I would say the professionals that I watch because I get ideas from them. So like when I play with players around my age, okay, you can learn something, but when you see professionals, you're like, oh, that's the highest level. So I need to know how to do that. You know what I mean? So then I go home, I practice like crazy until I know how to do it. And then that helped me improve a lot because if I can do what the professionals can do, that means my chances of playing there is a little bit higher. So that's what that was one of the things I think helped me improve as a player.
Okay, so like the thing that helped me improve was probably my brother, because I first learned how to play soccer because of him. He told me about it and how it works, and I started playing it at like home.
Yes, that's a good example. And how many years older is your brother than you?
I think 6 or 5.
So he's much older, and you played against him all the time. Okay, so you had to be very good. That helps you improve a lot as a player. And how do you feel? Do you know what feedback is? So, like, let's say you do something in a game, maybe it's not the right thing, and the coach tells you something. So that's
like advice.
Advice, yes. So, how do you feel about advice from coaches during practice or games?
I feel like whenever a coach is giving us advice like during and after practice, I think we should take it serious and during games too, because we might do the wrong thing and then we might like miss the whole practice too.
And if you had a choice, or actually, let me ask you this. What do you think is better, just for your opinion? Do you think it's better to Do you think it helps you to receive advice during the game or after the game? Or do you think both is good?
I think both. Because, like, during the game, you could, like, if you try doing the same thing, you would do it correctly. And then after practice, I think, like, after the game, then, and, like, in the next game, you wouldn't do the same mistake if you try to do the same thing.
Correct. And do you ever feel, or have you ever had a time where you think you got too much advice from the coach? What are your soccer dreams and goals?
So my dream is to go pro, and my goal is to play at like a high level, like the highest level, like ECNL, MLS Next.
And what's like the highest level that you want to reach at pro? Like, what competition do you want to play in, or for what team? Champions League. And from what you know now, how do you think that you can reach this goal?
From what I know now, like, start practicing, like, keep practicing individually, and whenever it's team practice, I always give 100%.
Okay, so individually, how much do you practice individually?
Like, how many hours?
No, like let's say in 1 week.
Yeah.
How many days do you practice individually?
2 or 3.
2 to 3. And then for your practices, how many, like, let's say you do 8 practices a month. How many of those practices do you think you give 100%?
5 of them.
5 of them? What about the others?
The others, like, give, like, 70% of it.
Do you know why? Like, why do you think so?
It's just, like, sometimes I don't feel like doing it. Sometimes I want to.
Is it because, like, something within the practice is not that fun, or is it just like your own feeling? Like, some days you wake up and you feel it, or something? That's what it is. Okay. And what makes you feel happy or proud after a soccer game?
Mostly, like, how much I learn and how much I have fun.
Oh, okay. I like that too, how much you have fun. I did not expect you to say that, but I think that's very good, is how much you have fun. Because I think when you have the most fun, you are the most creative. And if you don't have fun, then you're scared. You're nervous. You don't try things. So I think that's very good that you said that. And I think it's important for other coaches to make sure that their players have fun, like you said. That's a very good point. I know as coaches, I don't think that we normally think about this. Like, for me, when I'm a coach, I think, okay, yeah, I want my players to have fun, but I think after the game, I'm most proud when I teach my players something and then they do it in the game. But not many, and most coaches I know think like this. But I think the number one thing, now when I hear you talk and what's important for kids, I think the most important thing is that after a game, the number one thing is that our players have fun. I think that's the most important thing. And how do you handle or deal with losing a game?
So when your team wins the ball and you're making an attack, and if your team, like, suddenly loses the ball, you gotta drop back and try to get the ball back.
And after the game, like, when you lose, like, does it do anything to you? Like, do you think about it? Does it make you feel bad? Do you just forget about it?
I don't, like, forget about it.
Forget about it. Okay. And what do you think that coaches should know about coaching kids your age?
Mostly, like, having fun and knowing if they're learning.
Knowing if they're learning. So what do you think is a good way for coaches to know if their players are learning something?
Like intense drills and explainable drills and.
Like, what do you mean by explainable drills?
Like, if it looks like a hard drill, but the coach can explain it and they understand.
Okay, so the coach has to do a good job
Explaining
it and making sure it's simple for the players. So it should be simple for the players. Okay, so even if it's a hard drill, the coach should explain it well enough so that the players understand. Interesting. Okay. And then you said the other thing is make sure they're having fun. And what do you think, and I'm asking you, if you had to tell coaches to do something so that they know that their players are having fun, like what advice would you give them?
I would say what
Like I can give you an example. Like let's say I've done some drills with you and I think it's gone good, but I don't know what you guys think. And I just pick up my combs and I leave practice. Like, do you think there's maybe something I could do or maybe something that I could look at within practice to where as a coach, I know, oh, my players are having fun.
Oh, okay. So if you're like watching them like mess up or something, you could like tell them to like bring it in and explain it again so they could learn more and like have more fun.
Okay, so if they're messing up a lot, the coach needs to make sure that they get to a point where they're not messing up a lot.
Like they could start fixing the mistakes.
Okay, so then then the player doesn't have to think about the mistakes. He can just play. Okay, I like that. And how would do you know what encouraged means?
Encouraged, like motivated?
Exactly, yeah. How would you like to be encouraged by your coach and your teammates?
So I think by coaches, I think your coach, like, he could, like, get angry sometimes, and, like, start screaming at the players, and with the players, same thing.
Okay. And and for the last question, can you share a memorable moment or a moment that you remembered, your most fun moment that you had while playing soccer?
Probably winning Winter Classic.
Why was that special or memorable?
Because that was the first cup.
The first cup you won? Now, okay, so in this, I'm curious to know though, from your perspective now. So, from this Winter Classic, did you have fun in that tournament?
Yes.
Okay, so what do you think would be the top 3 things in terms of when you won this tournament? So you said 1 was because you won a cup that you hadn't won before. Now let me ask you this. Let's say you win, let's say this year, you win 10 trophies. What do you think of all the 10 trophies that you win, the 10 tournaments? What do you think would make one tournament better than the other tournament if you had to choose?
Like the opponents.
The opponents.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then like the weather and stuff, because it could be cold sometimes and it could be very hot.
Okay, so with the opponents then, so let's say you win the 10 tournaments, and now let's talk about the opponents. What would make you remember a tournament the most about the opponents? Like, what would make that tournament different with the opponents?
If they're like aggressive or not. Okay. Like if they're soft, I would remember, but like if they're aggressive.
So it has to be competitive.
Yeah,
it has to be competitive. Okay. All right, Maheed, thank you for doing the podcast with me. This is very good for coaches to know because as coaches, a lot of the times we only think about ourselves, but we forget to think about how the players are feeling about the game. So I thank you a lot for that. That's all we have for today's podcast. Stay tuned.